IRS Commissioner Charles Rettig is appearing in front of the House Appropriations Subcommittee this afternoon, where Democrats are expected to press him about the president's tax returns. Democrats on the Ways and Means Committee have invoked a section of the IRS code, arguing that it authorizes them to request and receive tax return information from any taxpayer. And they say that includes the president, and they are giving the Treasury Department until tomorrow to comply. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin was also on the Hill today, where he revealed his department had spoken to the president's lawyers about the request.
Our legal department has had conversations prior to receiving the letter with the White House General Counsel.
And did they brief you as to the contents of that communication?
They have not briefed me to the contents of that communication. I believe that was purely informational.
Joining me, Georgia Republican Congressman Rob Woodall. He's a member of the Budget, Rules, and Transportation Committees. Congressman, thank you so much. Do you see any value in seeing the president's taxes?
Katie, the American people decided no when they elected him in 2016. But the real question is, what about this abuse of power in the Ways and Means Committee, where they're going to begin targeting individual U.S. citizens for political purposes? I think that ought to be on everybody's radar screen.
Well, the question I asked you is, do you see any value in seeing any of the president's tax returns?
I don't. Now, what most folks don't know, Katie, is that every single president is audited every single year. So the tax professionals are pouring through every line of his returns. So if you have any worries about anything untoward happening, that's all being sorted out and always is.
Tax professionals know about leverage, though, and potential conflicts of interest?
Well, again, we don't have a mandate that folks release tax returns. Traditionally, presidents have. This president decided not to. If he decides he wants to tomorrow, he can. But what we've never seen is a Ways and Means Committee politicize the tax code and target an individual U.S. citizen.
Let me read the tax code and the law that they're citing. It's Section 6103 of the tax code. Upon written request from the chairman of the Committee on Ways and Means of the House of Representatives, the chairman of the Committee on Finance of the Senate, or the chairman of the Joint Committee on Taxation, the secretary shall furnish such committee with any return or return information specified in such request. That's directly from the code. If the code says it, how can they be politicizing it?
Oh, you've read the code word for word. What you didn't point out is that while this has been on the books for decades and has been used for legitimate public policy purposes, it has never been used by either party to target a political opponent. That's what's new here. The code allows the Ways and Means Committee, because it's the tax writing committee, to do whatever research it needs to do to promote better policy.
Well, hold on, because it's not just Democrats who said that they'd like to see the president's tax returns. There were a number of Republicans who said it during 2016 as well, and Lindsey Graham was asked about it just on Thursday, and here's what he said.
Do you believe that people who are running for president, though, I mean, Donald Trump is running for re-election?
In 2020, I think you should release your tax returns if you're running for president in 2020.
So, I mean, in a way...
I think everybody should.
I mean, Lindsey Graham's not a Democrat.
Oh, okay. That's perfectly legitimate to believe that candidates ought to release them. But in point of fact, this president didn't. I'd be curious to see your tax returns, but I would never use the Ways and Means Authority to write the letter to request them. There's a difference between what we'd like to see in politics and what we're willing to tolerate from government. This is just an overreach, and folks can continue to advocate for the president to release them, and the American people get to speak to that issue once again in the election of 2020.
I assume that in the future, if there's a Democratic president who you might be concerned about having a conflict of interest, maybe with a foreign power or maybe here at home, that you won't really feel the need to see that person's tax returns?
Well, I've never been an advocate for that. I did offer in the Rules Committee, ask for a vote to say, let's see the Speaker of the House's tax returns. That's the third highest elected official in the land. If it's so important to understand conflicts of interest and what's on a return, let's mandate that the Speaker of the House release his or hers as well. My Democratic colleagues didn't think that was such a great idea.
I think we should see everybody's tax returns. Congressman Rob Woodall, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.